Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today I'm super excited because I'm going to be canning out of the bulk canning book. I've done raw packed chicken a bazillion times. And today I'm going to be raw packing bone in, skin on chicken thighs. I got a screaming deal this week at Fred Meyer. And so we took advantage of it. I vacuum sealed 25 or 20, 25, between 20 and 25 pounds. This also represents about 25 pounds of chicken thighs, 89 cents a pound. I haven't seen a deal like that in a while. And so when something like that comes up, I am going to snag as many as they will allow me to have. So, chicken thighs, that's what's on the menu. And chicken, duck, goose, turkey, game birds. You can can all of them. And so raw packing, I feel like, and this goes right from the butchering process to the actual canning process. So it's in this bulk canning book on page 398. I always have this out for quick reference, just in case something has slipped my mind. I have my written reference. You can go also online to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and in this situation, I'm always glad that I look at this because bone in quart jars only take 75 minutes. If it was boneless, it would take 90 minutes. So we're going to have a quick canning session. We'll end up canning up about 14 pounds. Even though you've got bone in there, it creates a delicious bone broth. I am going to add water. I always add water to my raw packed chicken. I don't have a lot of siphoning, and I've never had anybody fail. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to bring you in close and let you see exactly how easy this is. And then once I get this done, I'm also on to the next food preservation because I'm going to be vacuum sealing tomatoes, crushed tomatoes from the garden. I've also got to vacuum seal some sun-dried tomatoes that are out in the dehydrator that I will turn into sun-dried tomatoes later on. And I'll show you all those things in another video. But let's get this chicken in the canner. All right, guys, I've got my All-American canner on the stove with 3 quarts of water, or 3 inches of water in the canner. That's the 921. It holds 7 wide mouth quarts. It's a workhorse. It has been such a great investment, and I'll use it the rest of my life. So, and then it can be passed down if somebody else wanted to take over. But I'm going to be using 4 jars lids today. This is my most trusted lid. I love these. There's a link down below and a coupon code that's Linda's Pantry, all one word, no apostrophe. And you can get 10% off of your complete order. So I've got the 4 jars wide mouth funnel, but I don't, and it's got the markings of 1 inch of headspace and all that. I don't know that I need that. I'm going to pick and choose the thighs that go in here, and I'm not going to need that. So I'm going to pick and choose the thighs, and bone in, skin on. It's going to be fantastic. These all are pretty large. I feel like I'm only going to get 3 thighs per jar, and see, you're going to have air pockets in here. I'm going to try to get another thigh pushed down in there. Maybe not. But let's see if I can. You want to make sure that you get all the air pockets out, or as much as you can. Let's see. I don't think I'm going to fit another one in here. We're going to give it a go, though. Yeah, that's a no, sir. Okay. So 3 thighs per jar. And, usually you would get, if you had cut up meat, you would get 2 pounds of meat in here. That is not going to be the case at all. So we're going to get 3. And these are, like I said, these are big thighs. If I had a little one here, or you could cut, and I might do that. I think I will. I think I'm going to grab a little cutting board here. And this is where the water that I add will take up that volume space But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut one of these thighs. Is going to get put into, and I've done this before, where you get that jar as full as possible. So it's got 3.5, and this one is going to get the bone and everything. 3.5 chicken thighs per container. Let's see, maybe I want to make sure this gets in there as far as I can get it. And perfect. Okay, so now that I've got the chicken all in there, I don't add any salt. Chicken has added salt. I don't want to add any of that. I've got cold water here, and we're going to add a little bit. You don't need much, but we are going to have to debubble, which we always would have to debubble anyway. Let that, see that water fill up that space? That's awesome. And then you're also, it changes your headspace. Typically, the ball book says you don't have to add water, but I have found I get better results. It doesn't hurt anything. I don't have any siphoning. It's going to make its own juice, more so than chicken breast, but I still want the meat covered with liquid. I hate it when it sticks outside the liquid. So we're going to go to 1 inch of headspace, and then we're going to wipe the rims of those jars. Let's get a nice clean paper towel and little water on it. You can use vinegar. I am not scared of a little fat getting up under the lid because they still seal. It takes a lot of product to get up under that lid to make it not seal. So there's my jar. It does look like a little bit of a science experiment, but okay, so I've got my jar lids, my 4 jars lid, soaking in hot water because that's the instructions. Even though I am pressure canning, I'm still doing that. We're going to start in a cold canner, cold chicken, cold water, going into a cold canner. It's all going to heat up, and I inspect around the jar. Do I have any, see right there, I feel like I have an air pocket, so I'm going to get that out of there. I'm going to debubble down in there. There we go. I just filled that space. Perfect. Perfect. I don't want any air pockets in there. If you can help it, try to get those spaces or that air out of there. All right. Now, lid back on. Fingertip tight. That's all you need. You're just holding these lids down so they can do their thing. They need to be able to vent air in and out. And if there's any liquid siphoning, it needs to be able to happen. So as soon as I can spin that jar, we're good to go. And it's going to go in the canner to wait for the rest of the group. I've got the canner turned on. It's on very low, so it's probably tepid as far as temperature goes. Nothing to shock these jars. And then we're going to move on to the next jars. And that's how easy this little process is. Pretty cool. I'm actually very excited to get this on the shelf because I do enjoy it. It makes the best chicken and dumplings. So, okay, we got dogs wrestling. Okay, so I did look at my reference, and it does say to use vinegar. So guess what? Those rims got wiped off with vinegar. I've never had it make a difference, but I've also never had fat coming up under the lid causing a seal to fail. Although, if it gets enough room up under that lid that you get like big chunks of something, you're definitely going to have issues. So this jar looks fantastic. In the canner it goes, and we'll just keep on rinsing and repeating. And any chicken that's left over, I am going to freezer bank it in vacuum sealed bags. So that's how that story is going to go. Okay, I like to kind of fold these where you can get another big one right beside it. And getting this Ooh, I don't know. I might get, these thighs are a little bit, no, let's cut this one in half. Sometimes too, if you cut it in half, you can fit it, the whole thing in the jar, just in a different configuration. So I like to get the bone one put in there first, because that I can push down. And then here's another one. There we go. And we'll get a little bit of water. Not much, because literally there's no room. Get all those air pockets out. And that's what I really want to see, is that there's no air pockets. And putting the water in there certainly helps that process. And the meat is going to shrink down as it cooks in the canner. And it literally cooks in its own juices. It's pressure cooked in there. All right, guys, let's get the vinegar soaked paper towel and get yourself another flat lid. 4 jars for the win. And here we go. Into the canner she goes. All right, I'll be back and let you know how much is left, if any. No, there will be some left. And I'll get this canner started. It's going to can at my altitude. I need 10 pounds of pressure. On the weighted gauge, the dial will show 11 pounds of pressure, but that's for my elevation. You should check your elevation to see what you need, because the higher you go, the more pressure you're going to need to can successfully and safely. So this last jar, I was able to stack them like flat on top of each other. I got 4 in there, which was fantastic. 4 thighs. And if I see something that's right there along the inside, I'll get that off there, because chances are it's going to get pushed up under that lid. So we are on our 7th jar, and you can see we've got plenty to a freezer bank and into vacuum seal bags. I usually do 5 thighs to a bag, 4 to 5 thighs. So I'll bring you along for one of those videos. Okay, so in the canner this goes, and I'm going to get this started. That canner, let's take you over and I'll get the lid on. Okay, so my canner, the water is just bath water kind of temperature right now. I turned it up a little bit a few minutes ago. So it's starting to heat up. Nothing to shock the jars. It's going to heat up slowly. I'm not going to rush this, so it'll heat on medium to medium high once I hear it boiling in there. And then it's going to have to vent. Once it gets up to temperature, it will vent steam out of this petcock, and you need to let it vent for a full 10 minutes. That's part of your canning processing time. Your processing time is both the heat up, the cool down, the venting, all of it. It's all factored in. So I screw these on across from each other, just to, what this is doing is leveling the lid. So it's on nice and level, nice and level. And then I go ahead and start tightening them across from each other. And there we go. Now our canner's all set. And I've already inspected the canner for the petcock to have a clear, steam vent. I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. I don't want that steam to be up under my microwave or my cabinet. So you got to make sure you have that venting. If your kitchen is not set up the same, you can turn the canner while it's venting, so that steam goes elsewhere. And I can bring it back when it starts venting. So that's a 10-minute timer. Then you put your weight on. Then you're going to let that come up to pressure. And once it comes up to the pressure that's for your altitude, you will then go ahead and start your timing. All right. Hey guys, so my 10-minute vent time has happened. It's over, and now I'm putting my weight on the 10-pound marker. So this has a 5, a 10, and a 15. and there's already some pressure built up here on the gauge. I've got this on medium. I can hear it boiling in there, steams. That's been going. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up to pressure. I'm turning it up to a 7. It was on a 4. I'm turning it up to a 7 so it can continue to heat up. And then once this starts releasing, and what it's doing, it's releasing pressure. When it hits that 10 pounds, it's going to release pressure. 11 pounds on this gauge. Then I'm going to start my timing for 75 minutes. And for quarts of chicken, that's amazing. So let's say you had a grid down situation. Your electricity went out and you haven't had power for a few days and you've got chicken in your freezer. You could, as it thaws, raw pack it and get it canned. I have 4 jars. I have the 4 jars pressure canner, the same size. It's a little taller, but I have that. I also have my little, I think it's 10.1. So it hold. I wouldn't do quarts in it. I always do 7 pints in it, regular mouth pints. That little canner's been a workhorse too, and it's an All-American. So I would take all 3 canners and have them going, rocking and rolling. So I could literally every 75 minutes, or depending on what kind of meat it was, if it was, you are going to get your stuff in jars and get it shelf stable before you lose it. And then there's always have a barbecue. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so this is how I prep for the next couple of years, because this will be shelf stable for my timeline for meats, unless it's fish, and even there. Well, let's just leave it at fish. My shelf life in my pantry, in my extended pantry, I like to get it off the shelf and rotate it out in 3 years. So right now we're using the rest of what was canned in 2020 and 2021. So yes, we're rotating and we're replacing it with fresh, new, and improved chicken. Okay, we are back and doing. Sorry for the noise. These have been sitting here and it's perfect. Did I have some siphoning? Yes, I always have a little bit because I do add the water to the jars. Actually, I kind of feel like I want to leave these sit in the canner a little bit longer because they're still boiling in the jars. They can sit in that hot water. It's just below the shoulder, or well, not the shoulder, but the rim of the jar, below where the actual canning ring is. They're still boiling in there. I'm going to let them settle and acclimate a little further because I've got the air conditioner going. What happens is you will get siphoning after you take them out, because now the lids are still moving up and down and it's evaporating liquid out of the jar. So I don't want that to happen. I want to keep as much liquid as I can on that chicken. So again, I'll be back. I'm going to give it 15 minutes and I'll be back. And I am so patient with this because the end result is phenomenal. You can do it my way. You can do it the way they say in the book. In the book, they just say to take it out after they're done. But they're also not adding liquid. I don't think that changes it a whole lot. I still have seen a lot of evaporation of what liquid was in the jar when you take them out and they're boiling in the jar. It's great to see, but I want to preserve what's in the jar. So I'll be patient. Okay, now we are ready. I've let these sit with the lid off. The lid was kind of cattywampus for a while, but then now the lid's been completely off. They're still submerged. That water is just below the where the ring is. So That's what they look like. It's still boiling in the jar. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see that. Yep, you can see it. So it's still boiling in the jar, but I'm going to put these out here, and we will leave these set until tomorrow morning. So like I said, we have a little bit of siphoning, which I always expect because the chicken's going to make its own juice. It never makes enough to fill the jar, and I don't like that. I don't like that gray meat sticking outside the liquid. I want all the chicken below the liquid, and I can tell on this one that's what's going to be. And then we're just going to let these rest in the morning. Well, in the morning, I'm going to go ahead and take the rings off, wash the jars, label them. Oh, yeah. Label them. Sometimes the lid or the rings will loosen in the canning process, and it always makes me crazy because I feel like it's going to fall off. Yeah, you should really, I always just put it back over. The suction is going to happen when everything in here is expanded up past the inch of headspace. Once it cools down, it will come down, and then that little bit of space in there will create a vacuum, and we'll have beautiful chicken thighs on the shelf for, well, actually it'll be multiple meals. Each jar will do multiple meals because that's a lot of chicken meat. All right. I'm super excited that I was able to bring this to you. I haven't done a raw pack or a canning video where I was doing meat in a while. And every time that one of us does a recipe or a canning session, there's usually something else that you can take away from it, or maybe something else that I hadn't mentioned before or you didn't hear before that you might hear. So I appreciate your subscription. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, oh my gosh, I would so appreciate that. And then share this on your social media, because now more than ever, we need to be stocking our pantries with our own stuff if we can, and learning how to do these skills, because someday we may need them again. And if you don't have those skills, it's going to be very difficult to learn in a hard situation. So that's why I'm here. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye. So guys, I hope this inspires you to can up some chicken for yourself. And if you're new, don't be scared. This is a great way to prep for the future. And if you like this sort of content, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel.